The Arizona Diamondbacks were one of the most fun and surprising teams last year. I won't say I called it, but if you go back to our 2023 team profile, I may have said to watch out for them. They're going to be better than expected, and they definitely were. 84-78 record in the regular season netted them a wild card spot, and they took that all the way to the World Series before unfortunately losing to the Texas Rangers. It was a fun year last year, but there's a lot to build on, and for the Diamondbacks, I think their hopes and their aspirations are going to be even higher than what they were last year, especially for D-backs fans, looking at a very fun young team with a very nice little veteran core there as well. So let's not waste any time. My name is Derek. I'm here with Pat. You're watching Bleacher, Brawls, and this is the Arizona Diamondbacks team profile. So first things first, let's start with the key players as always. I think this is a team where you can pick a bunch of different players. I think they have a lot of very good options, but I'll hand it off to Pat first. Three key players that you think are going to be important for this team, and out of those three, pick one that, whether you think they're the most important, or you're really high on them, or, explain why do you think they're going to be important for the D-backs season?
Yeah, we have a segment later on in the video about key offseason moves. I'm going to spoil it a little bit now because the three that I want to highlight are all guys that came in this offseason. And I'm going to go Eduardo Rodriguez, Jock Peterson, and Eugenio Suarez. That being, this is a team that went, okay, we had some success. Maybe we overperformed a little bit. We'll talk about that later. But we know we have these holes, and we know we need to plug them. And they did that. And I especially want to shout out Eddie Rodriguez here. I think, I think as Red Sox fans, which, as much as we were D-back stuff, we are technically, maybe a little bit of a sour taste in our mouths from his exit and the end of his time in a Red Sox uniform. But he's a solid pitcher. He's a very solid pitcher. They spent $80 million on him. He's that solid of a pitcher. And they needed a lefty at the top of that rotation. And he's going to fill that spot. I think now they go from having a 1-2 to a very solid 1-2-3, which is what you need in the playoffs. And they only won, what did you say, 86 games in the regular season? But they're thinking about the playoffs right now. And you need three starters, and that's what they have.
No, it was 84 games, actually.
84. Oof. Jeez.
Yeah. So... But it does make Braden Pfaadt a much more reliable number 4 instead of a number 3, which I think that's also a big part of it. They still need that number 5 starter, like I talked about last year. Who's going to be the number 5? We'll see. That's going to be a spring training battle. For me, I think the three key guys. I'll go a little bit more obvious in some sense. I'll take Zach Gallen. I do want to go Gabriel Moreno though, because I think he'll be massively important, and I would love to talk about him, but I'm talking about my favorite non-Red Sox player. We're talking about Ketel Marte. This guy has been my favorite non-Red Sox player since the beginning of the 2019 season. And that kind of year he had was special. And that's the year that kind of made the D-backs my non-Red Sox team, my National League team. That's the year I kind of fell in love with them. And so Ketel Marte, he is just a very solid veteran presence for this D-backs team. And he showed in the postseason that he can show up and just play amazing. I mean, a 20-game hit streak in the postseason for his career that he was on and continuing throughout last year's postseason. And overall last year, 127 weighted runs created plus with 25 homers, 844 OPS. Very solid year, 4.2 F4. Overall, a very solid year. And the great thing last year for Ketel Marte was that he played a lot of second base. But guess what? He was solid. 2 defensive runs saved, no outs above average, but 1,200 innings is the most innings he's played, I think, in a while in terms, at least in a season at one particular position. I think that's the most he's ever played at one particular position throughout a whole season. So him having a more consistent position in the field, I think, definitely helped him. And he did take a little bit of a jump defensively last year in terms of defensive metrics. Now, how much can that maybe just be attributed to the shift being canceled? I have no clue and whatnot, but because we really don't know how that affects defensive metrics and whatnot. But at the same time, defensive metrics did show he was better defensively last year, which is, even better considering the fact that he's a very solid hitter in their lineup. And I love where they kind of have him in that kind of 2-hitter spot. I think that's perfect for a Ketel Marte type. A guy who can give you, 25 homers, but at the same time is just a solid hitter and is going to it can be a situational hitter as well. So I think Ketel Marte is my guy. Well, I know he's my guy, but I think he's my guy for who's really important for this team. I think he's arguably the most important player in terms of veteran leadership and the whole package. Key offseason moves, you kind of highlighted them. Eduardo Rodriguez signing for 4 years, $80 million. Jock Peterson on a 1-year deal. Trading for Eugenio Suarez. They did also re-sign Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for 3 years, 42. That's another offseason move they made. Out of those moves, what do you feel is kind of the most important one? I don't know if you're going to want to talk about Eduardo Rodriguez again, so maybe go elsewhere with this, but who do you have? Or what move do you have?
I hate to get the cop-out answer, but I like them all. I like them all for them. I think that they, like I said, they knew that they had holes to fill. They identified their legitimately weak positions or things that they could improve upon, and they did it. There are a lot of teams that did not do that this year, that have holes, and we're recording this right before pitchers and catchers report. They still have those holes. The Diamondbacks did not do that. They knew that they needed these 4 things, and they did it. And I think that alone is commendable.
Yeah, very much so. I think for me, I do want to touch on the Eugenio Suarez trade because last year going to last year, I said Evan Longoria is probably going to DH every day. You got Josh Rojas at third base, and I was very high on Josh Rojas. And he kind of fell a little bit flat on his face last year, unfortunately. I still like Josh Rojas a lot. I think he'll have success. It's just, now it's not with the Diamondbacks, obviously. He ended up in Seattle at the end of last year. But I still like him a lot. But for the Diamondbacks, I meant Evan Longoria was pretty much playing third base every day. And at his age, that's not ideal. Eugenio Suarez comes in, massive power bat. Does he strike out a lot? Yes, he does. Over 30% K rate the last 2 seasons. He definitely will strike out a lot. He also hits a lot of home runs. 22 home runs, last year. Doesn't look amazing, but he did play in Seattle. You got to remember that. Then 31 the 2 previous years, and then you go back to 2019. He had 49. Juiced baseball? Yes. Was he in Cincinnati, the best home run ballpark in baseball? Yes. It's still 49 home runs, whether you like it or not, right? And I think overall, too, defensively, he's, over his career, proven to be a very solid defender, with the exception of, the 1 year Cincinnati put him at shortstop, which, don't ask me why they did that, maybe because it's the Reds and they're stupid. He did have -2 defensive runs saved, but also 11 outs above average at third base last year, so defensive match is a little bit split, but I think overall shows that he's a solid defender. Just don't put him at shortstop like the Reds did that 1 year. I don't know why they were thinking that. I thought that was terribly dumb. We'll get to the Reds eventually in these team profiles. Actually, the Reds will actually be before the D-backs, actually. So you've already seen the Reds video. But I think this is I think that's the kind of a key move because that was a hole in their, especially defensively, third base. So getting a Eugenio Suarez in that team, I think is very useful. But now expectations for 2024, though. This is a team that went into 2024, weren't given the highest expectations by the media and the fans and whatnot, but really blew them out of the water. What does that do for the 2024 expectations now?
I think you have to stay level-headed. I think that you cannot say we expect to be a World Series team. They clearly can do that, and they've improved on last year's roster, so it's definitely possible. But they won 84 games. You have to want to be a 90-win team, being in the division that they're in, still getting a wild card spot, and then go from there, right? They plug those holes, like I said, but they cannot say we expect to win the National League. I think that that's a little unfair. So I think that they need to just keep doing what they're doing, keep their head down, keep playing good baseball, and then just play better baseball this year.
Yeah, so as of recording, the rumor is that the D-backs are still in for a right-handed bat, maybe. So that's an interesting one. If it's not a massive move, we're probably not going to re-record, so we might miss out on that because we are recording just before pitchers and catchers report to spring training. However, I think the expectations for 2024 for this D-backs team is to prove they can stick around near the top. I think that's got to be the expectation. It's a very young team, but that hopefully means that the team's going to grow and get better. And they do have a lot of solid veterans like Ketel Marte, like Christian Walker and whatnot. And I think interesting, you have a Jordan Lawler who's close to the big leagues now, and he could be their shortstop of the future. Right now it's Geraldo Perdomo at short. He started off last year well, but a little bit Jorge Mateo-y in some sense, right? We talked about Jorge Mateo on the Orioles video. But so I think getting Lawler up and seeing if he has success, I think that'll help this team even more and make them even better. So I think overall, they need to prove that. Not that they need to, but that should be the goal. The goal should be that they need to prove that they can stay at the top. Even better, if not just stay near the top, if they can be at the top and compete with the Dodgers, which is going to be hard to do because that's a juggernaut, but if they can compete with the Dodgers, I think that would say a lot about this D-backs team. But I think the expectation of 2024, I don't think they're going to be too crazy either because of the Dodgers. But overall, I think it's a good place to wrap us up with the expectations, obviously. Very fun year ahead, hopefully, for the D-backs. I'm hoping, at the very least, as they are my National League team. Because I need stuff to watch after Red Sox games, so hopefully they're good. I think it's going to be very exciting. Make sure to check out all our other team profiles that we've done, as this is the second to last one, as the D-backs lost the World Series, which means you get to go second to last. Rangers will be up next. Unless you're watching this in the past, which thanks for joining. My name is Derek. I'm Pat. I'm here with Pat. Thanks for tuning into Bleacher Brawls. Check out all the links in the description. D-backs fans, let us know your thoughts, and we will see you next time.